Hello class, my name is Fernanda Figueroa. Today, me and my partner Angel de la Cruz will be discussing the rule of social proof. To understand the rule of social proof, we first need to talk about canned laughter. A lot of TV shows use canned laughter, but have you ever wondered why? A majority of TV shows use canned laughter to help the audience at home know when to laugh. Yet, most audiences and the actors themselves find canned laughter distasteful. So why then do they continue to use it? Well, because the research says it's helpful. Research has shown that canned laughter helps audiences know when to laugh and can elongate laughter periods, especially with non-comedic material. This is because canned laughter makes the audience believe the material is funny. Based on the research, it makes sense for TV shows to use it, but why does it work if audiences find it distasteful? It works because of the rule of social proof. This rule is that we determine what is correct by finding out what other people think is correct. So, when it comes to canned laughter, we believe it's correct to laugh at certain points because we hear others doing it. The rule of social proof, like other weapons of influence, creates a tendency for us to act in a certain manner based on what we see others doing. The rule of social proof leads us to act in a manner that we believe to be appropriate based on the fact that we see numerous individuals acting a certain way. Because when something is done by a lot of people, it's usually right. The rule of social proof is a shortcut for how we act. Because of this rule, we act based on reflexes rather than taking the time to think about our actions. With the help of the rule of social proof, we are less likely to make social mistakes because we are acting the way others are, aka the correct way. In the example of canned laughter, because others are doing it, we assume it's correct, so we do it that way too. The rule of social proof is efficient in moments when we don't have time to think, but it makes us vulnerable to those who use the rule for their benefit, like advertisers, money collectors, businesses, etc. TV shows aren't the only ones that use the rule of social proof. Many different industries use the rule because social proof works best when provided by the actions of a lot of other people. For example, TV shows, as mentioned earlier. Bartenders also use the rule of social proof by filling their tip jars with money to stimulate others have tipped them, encouraging future customers to do the same. Churches use the same technique by passing collection baskets with money already in them. This encourages churchgoers to donate as it seems others already have done so. Advertisers use the rule when they mark their products as the fastest selling. This convinces consumers to buy the product because they assume others want to buy it immediately. Research has also used the rule to eliminate certain behaviors. For example, Albert Bandura showed that children who were terrified of dogs would not be anymore if they saw other children playing with them. Robert O'Connor also found that when antisocial children were shown videos of children interacting, they will later be interacting with other children. Real examples of social proof can be seen on Netflix or review sites. If you've ever been on Netflix, you've seen the top 10 section. This influences viewers to watch these movies because they are advertised as movies that are watched by many. IMDb ratings works the same way. Based on movie ratings, we assume whether a movie is good or not, based on what the majority is saying, rather than going and watching the movie ourselves.
Thank you, Fernanda, for properly illustrating social proof in action. Now moving on to our next slide. On this next clip, we'll be showing you how, when properly applied, the rule can and will make a difference.
This is Bob, a male entrepreneur. Bob is a rational beast, and he has just launched a brand new product, a shake that satisfies a human's monthly nutritional needs. A great idea. Here we see Bob trying to appear credible. A rather fancy marketing courting ritual in order to attract his first customers. Bob is ready, and he waits patiently. Maybe this one? No. Not much seems to work for Bob. The female entrepreneur has chosen a different approach. She is showing off customer behaviors. A simple yet effective courting strategy. An alluring display of social proof. Bob is yet to grasp the concept. Thus, he continues to wait and wait.
As we saw in the video, despite the male entrepreneur's efforts to induce credibility and even offer 100% money back guaranteed, the female entrepreneur had always the greater advantage. Now, as you may have noticed, one of her customers was a little bit uncertain of what he just had bought. But since everybody else was doing it, hey, they must be doing it for a reason, so it must be the right thing to do. Demonstrating how effective and powerful the rule of social proof can be in real life situations, not just through live TV and canned laughter. As mentioned before, the rule of social proof works best when we see others do something. Take, for example, a study done by 3 researchers specifically focused on a group committed to the end of the world. This cult believed the idea that when the world ended, they who believe in their guardians will be saved. Some of them left their jobs behind, their homes, their families, just to commit to this cause. The interesting is that they didn't take the time to advocate the end of the world. They didn't even try to convince people to join their cult. As a matter of fact, when the day came and the end of the world was not here, they still believe in their guardians, especially because they had nothing else to believe on. They felt that if more people were to believe in their guardians, just like they did, then soon enough, the end of the world will come.
You may have noticed, or you may have been endlessly annoyed by laugh tracks running in the back of sitcoms. But have you ever wondered the precise reason why those are there? Put simply, there is a general tendency that when people find themselves in a situation of uncertainty, when they're not sure how to act, they look at the environment around them to find cues and guidance, like laughter from a ghost audience. And they are especially influenced by people of their own age and status. This type of reasoning is what's driving the success of websites and applications like Yelp, TripAdvisor, and Like a Local Guides. People like to rely on the experience and opinion of like-minded people to guide their own decisions and actions. There is an excellent experiment that demonstrates the utility of this principle in action. The main goal of the study was to try to get people who are staying at a hotel in Arizona to reuse their towels. 4 reasons were given to 4 different groups of guests, each appealing to a different thing: the environment, prospective donation of end-of-year laundry savings, an already completed donation, or the fact that the majority of the hotel guests reuse their towel at least once per stay. And yes, the last method proved most effective, with a 10% increase in towel reuse from when people were only considering the environment, or, to put it otherwise, as effective as thinking about the environment turned out to be, with 35% of the people reusing their towels. Taking a cue from the other people who visited the same hotel was more. 45% of hotel guests decided to reuse their towels. And if those people were told that the majority of people staying in this hotel and in this exact room reuse their towels, compliance numbers reached 50%. Amazing, right? One driving force behind social proof is the need to belong to a social group. Humans base about 2/3 of their self-image on the social groups they're a part of. It stands to reason that when a situation occurs that makes us feel uncertain, we reevaluate ourselves and start thinking on behalf of the group it makes sense to be a part of for this decision. For example, if choosing between several hair products, an individual can ask themselves, what would make sense for me as a young college graduate on a budget who cares about quality? She would go with the choice that fits this description the best, and many others in her position will too. So, how can the social proof principle be applied in a marketing strategy? One way to do it is to give your product credibility boost by gathering testimonials. Identify your target audience and have satisfied customers show them that your product or service is something their peers enjoy. In case your mind jumped directly to, oh no, infomercials, as did ours, let us reassure you that this is not what we mean by testimonials. In today's digital age, there are tons of exciting ways to market a product using social proof. You can collaborate with bloggers that share your target audience to popularize your product or use podcasts. You can also aim to generate comments, which are often the go-to testimonial in online marketing. One very clever strategy used in TV ads was to change the usual tagline from "operators are standing by" to "if our lines are busy, please call again." At this point, you can probably guess what that accomplished. This simple switch conveyed that many others are also calling in, thus the product or service must be very desirable, and you will not be placing your eggs into the wrong basket if you also trust it. An easy way to convey a similar message in an increasingly online world is by introducing counters on your web platform. For example, of how many people have bought or support the product. Think about Kickstarter. The funded-in-one-day banner on a project fulfills this exact purpose, and it is super effective. All of that said, the wisdom of the crowds can be a mighty tool if you just know how to harness it.
As explained in the video, social proof works best because we assume that since everyone else is doing it, it must be the right thing to do. Uncertainty makes it easier for us to fall for the rule of social proof. Now, what is uncertainty? Uncertainty is when we are unsure of ourselves, when the situation is unclear. In other words, when we can't make up our minds. We tend to look at others and see their actions, and if a lot of people are doing it, it must be the right thing to do. The perfect example I could come up with is the one provided by the book. Sylvia Goldman, the creator of the shopping cart, he realized that it was time to start a new model. This model introduced a new basket, just in a bigger size. When he realized that not a lot of people were taking advantage of this new project, he came up with the idea of just hiring new people to use carts around the store, following, of course, the rule of social proof. Eventually, making the shopping cart a complete success. However, there is an upside to the rule of social proof: pluralistic ignorance. Everyone is looking to see what everyone else does. So either everyone does the same thing or no one does anything, which takes us to the bystander effect. Perfect example can be Catherine Genovese. When she got attacked in front of a whole apartment complex, no one did a thing. No one called the cops because they assumed other people had done it. No one went to the rescue because they assumed someone had done it. Long story short, she ended up dying. Everybody thought that somebody was going to take the initiative, and they did it, costing her her life, making the bystander effect a fatal one. Overall, if someone is doing something and you are uncertain whether to do it or not, you tend to look for clues around you. If other people are doing it, it must be the right thing to do. The larger the group, the less likely they are to help. However, if one takes the initiative, the rest will follow. Let's watch this next video.
Hello everyone. Picture this. You're walking in the mall on your way to buy a new laptop for school when you see someone fall down, drop all of their stuff, and severely hurt their knee. You look around, waiting for someone to respond, but nobody moves. Instead, you see everyone else doing the same thing you are. It's as if nobody understands what to do and chooses to ignore the situation rather than act. This is called the bystander effect, which is when an individual is not as likely to help someone in need when there are other people around. So let's break down the situation I just described to understand why it happened. First, you're walking in the mall with a goal in mind, to buy a new laptop for school. You are focused on this goal and are not prepared for anything unexpected to happen. So when something unexpected does happen, your brain reacts in a certain way that makes you somewhat paralyzed to act. It's trying to interpret the situation and figure out what you can do to help, or even if you have the capability to help at all. Bib Latané and John Darley have a very good paper on how people react to emergencies and the bystander effect. I'll put the link to that in the description. Okay, so your brain is going through a lot of stuff right now and you're currently doing nothing. So you look around for some reference to see what other people are doing. You see that there are a lot of people around you and think to yourself that somebody must be capable of helping this person. Someone else will surely help. This type of behavior falls under the diffusion of responsibility theory, where an individual is less likely to act when other people are around. If you were to look at it mathematically, it might look like this for 4 people, this for 8 people, and so on. In this example, let's say you have exactly 1/16 of the responsibility, so you really don't have much of an incentive to act because you aren't exactly that responsible for the situation at hand. But, of course, everyone feels this way, so nobody responds. A famous real-life example of this phenomenon is the sad story of Kitty Genovese. On a March night in 1964, Kitty Genovese was walking home from work when a man attacked her. She screamed for help, and 38 people in the surrounding area went to their windows to witness what was going on. This is where things get really messed up. The man continued to attack her for another half hour until she eventually died. Nobody came to her rescue, nobody called the police, people were aware of the event that was taking place, and nobody did anything. They were all under the spell of the bystander effect. As we can see here, the bystander effect has a tendency to make people inadvertently become less helpful, maybe even more horrible versions of themselves. So, is that it? We're just horrible human beings who can't help each other when we're in large crowds? Well, it doesn't have to be that way. Professor Ken Brown in a TED Talk argued using a meta-analysis of the bystander effect from Fisher et al. 2011 that when one person from a crowd actively helps a person in need, everyone else in that crowd is more likely to help that person as well. The individual who initially acts becomes a sort of catalyst for helpful behavior. Ken Brown argues that this is a powerful force and can give an explanation for how different movements, projects, and missions in human history began. It just takes one person to start something bigger than themselves. So now that you're armed with this knowledge about the bystander effect, try to be more aware of your surroundings. If you see someone in need of help, go help them. It can be as simple as calling 911, and research shows that when you come to their aid, others will as well. This is how you can make a difference.
To conclude our presentation, Fernanda.
Thank you for listening, and we hoped you enjoyed this video.